Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Tuseno Windseeker Black. This watch is available from Tuseno.com for €699. Tuseno are a well-established micro-brand. They were founded in 2015 in Gothenburg in Sweden. And then from 2020 onwards they began producing their watches in Switzerland. So this Windseeker Black is Swiss made. It's also available in blue, silver, orange and green options, but I think this black version is the best looking. So firstly, let's look at the travel case that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets to the watch. So as you can see, the travel case comes in a cardboard outer box which has the Tusenö brand logo, and above it we have the guiding light star logo. The guiding light logo symbolises a lighthouse on nautical charts past and present, and it's a feature of all Tusenö watches. So one removes the lid, and inside we have the cork travel case. Now I want to give due credit to Tuseno because I like to see micro brands innovate and come up with original ideas rather than just copying other brands. So this is the first time I have seen a travel case made entirely from cork, flawless stitching around the perimeter, and it makes a refreshing change because rather than just using PU leather, they've chosen to use a different material, and I think the cork is very aesthetically pleasing and it's finished to a good standard. Two stainless steel poppers, and inside is fully upholstered with a white velour fabric to a good standard, and we have two stainless steel poppers either side of the padded pillow cushion which snap together with a nice positive click, and that does a good job of securing the watch in transit from any damage, and the flap snap shut with a nice positive click as well. So good quality stitching, good quality finishing to the cork, and I like it. So with regards to other items, this is the booklet for the warranty card, and all Tuseno watches are covered by a 2-year international warranty, which is very good at this mid-tier price point of €699. As an alternative to using a booklet for the owner's instruction manual, again, they deserve credit for innovating. They simply use a QR code, so you can use your Android or iPhone to scan the QR code, and that will download the owner's instruction manual for the Windseeker Black. And lastly, one also gets this Tuseno branded microfiber polishing cloth. I always think it's a nice touch to get a microfiber polishing cloth which is branded irrespective of the price point of a piece. So with regards to the dimensions, we have a 39mm case diameter, we have a lug-to-lug measurement of 47mm, we have a thickness of 10.5mm, and we have a lug width of 20mm. The bracelet tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to 18mm at the 2-button push butterfly clasp. If you look closely at the 2-button push butterfly clasp, you can see it is engraved with Tuseno with high definition engraving, and also Gothenburg, which is Swedish for Gothenburg, and above we have the guiding light star logo as I've detailed. Nice foam resistance to the 2-button push triggers, and both halves of the butterfly open very smoothly. No extra play in the hinge pins, they're a good tight fit, so good quality control and tolerances to the manufacturing. One detail I really like about this piece, and it's something one doesn't often see on mid-tier pieces, if you look at the left and right portions of the interior of the butterfly clasp, you can see pelage finishing. Pelage finishing is something one sees on high-tier pieces costing in excess of €5,000. Very unusual to see pelage finishing on a bracelet at this mid-tier price point of €699. So they deserve credit for it. No sharp edges, no burrs, no sharp corners to the butterfly clasp, and the hinge pins feel nice and tight, so it's very well executed. Now, the negative of using a butterfly clasp versus a deployant, or alternatively a flip lock clasp, for example, is there is no micro adjustment. One thing I like about Tuseno is they do respond to feedback from collectors, and they do constantly refine their pieces. So this bracelet now includes, from 2024 onwards, 2 half links. If you look at the right hand side of the bracelet, we have full links in the bracelet, but also we have 2 additional half links, and that means it's easy to get the correct fit. And they deserve credit for this because often brands with a butterfly clasp on their piece, they will only have full links, and therefore it's difficult to get the correct fits because sometimes adding or subtracting one full link isn't quite correct. With 2 half links you can fine-tune the fit to get the perfect fit, and also you can get the butterfly clasp triggers perfectly central in the wrist because you can put an even number of links and half links either side of the butterfly. So very good refinement, and I'm pleased that they've updated the clasp in 2024. So with regards to the rest of the specification, we have 100 meters of water resistance, which is strong specification for a daily wear piece. Flat sapphire crystal with AR coating on the underside, and as you can see, the AR coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the flat sapphire crystal. BGW9 Superlume Nova on the hands and the dial, and I like the symmetry of the asymmetrical dial. They made the correct decision by citing the date complication at 6 rather than 3 because that retains the symmetry of the dial. Legibility is excellent. One detail I like is the mirror polishing to the hands, which have facets. They're nicely proportioned and also clearly legible. Proportions are good. This is something that often mid-tier microbrands get incorrect. The hands are undersized and underproportioned, but if you look at the length of the minute hand, it extends all the way to the white minute ticks on the chapter ring, which has a textured finish to it. And I really like the proportion of the arrowhead tip to the second hand, because that also extends the minute ticks on the chapter ring. So they deserve credit because the proportions are right, but also I like the detail because Windseeker is in contrasting yellow on the dial, and that complements the contrasting yellow tip to the arrowhead second hand. Another update, another refinement that they've made, which I like, is early versions of the Windseeker had a white date wheel with black Arabic numerals, regardless of the colour, and this is available in black, blue, silver, orange and green. But this version, which has been updated, has a black date wheel with white Arabic numerals, and the black date wheel complements the black dial. The dial is very well detailed. Rather than engraving vertical or horizontal grooves into the dial, the grooves are curved, and that does add a 3D effect to it. And there's a slight sheen like a sunburst pattern to the dial, so it's not matte black and it's not enamel black. It's actually like an anthracite dark grey black, and I really like the colour tone and the metallic finish to it. It's got a nice sheen. Another thing that Tuseno does very well is the high definition printing of the white paint for the text on the dial. It's very crisp, and again, this is something one sees on high tier pieces in excess of €5,000, but at the mid tier often the printing of dials is blurry, and the minute ticks and the second ticks on the chapter ring, for example, they won't be crisp and high definition, but these are nice and sharp. The text, including the Swiss made either side of the 6 o'clock index, are very high definition. So I'll show you the screw down exhibition case back, which is a favourite feature of this piece. Glazed with sapphire crystal. Stainless steel portion of it is 316L grade stainless steel. The circumference is mirror polished. The centre section is concentric brass satin finished. Engraving is high definition, and the centre section is well finished with the sapphire is perfectly flat. So it does a good job of displaying the movement used, which is the Solita calibre SW200-1. Nice to see an exhibition case back used rather than a solid stainless steel case back, because it is nice to see the rotor on the SW200-1, and it's very low profile. They deserve credit because they haven't used a stainless steel case back with a bubble back profile to it, which would increase the thickness of the piece. This is only 10.5 millimeters. With 100 meters, one would expect a daily wear piece to have a thickness of 12 millimeters. 10.5 is exceptionally thin for 100 meters of water resistance. So perfectly flat against the wrist, very comfortable, very smooth, and you can see nice curved undercut to the head of the piece, so therefore it fits very snugly. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I haven't sized the bracelet, and bear in mind this has 2 extra half links added to it, and I'm pleased to report they deserve full credit, because often it's a case with mid-tier pieces, microbrands, they do not include enough links for larger wrists. For example, if you're a collector like myself with an 8-inch wrist, often the bracelets will be a fraction too tight and they need additional links added. This would actually fit up to a 9 or even a 10-inch wrist, because as you can see with the extra half links added, it's a very long bracelet, so there are plenty of bracelet links, and the good thing about that is you have spare links available if you need to add them later on. So I haven't sized the bracelet, it's got plenty of links, plus the 2 extra half links to get the perfect fit, but as you can see, very snug fit to the wrist. Nice curved undercut to the case. They've made the correct decision by using female pivoted end links rather than male end links. So the lug to lug measurement is 47. 48 is perfection for all wrist sizes, whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist respectively. 47 is very close to it. With the addition of the female pivoted end links, you can see the end link in the bracelet pulls very close and snugly to the wrist. So it does give a good fit. Nice tight fit, no big gap underneath the ends of the lugs, which is often the case with 39 and 40mm pieces. Very low profile because it is only 10.5mm. This will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. The clear AR coating does an excellent job, as you can see. And I really like the dark black anthracite colour to the dial, as you can see, with the curved grooves. And the contrasting tip to the second hand makes the legibility outstanding, as does the proportions of the hands. It's just a very well proportioned piece. Indices are also symmetrical and clearly legible. I like the mirror polishing to the chamfer on the bezel and the contrast with the brushed satin finishing to the top of it and the edge. So as you can see, just a gorgeous looking piece from any angle. Beautiful luster to the bracelet, as you can see. Now, this is one of the best finished bracelets I've experienced in the mid-tier. And again, this is the kind of bracelet finishing one would expect to see on a high-tier piece costing in excess of €5,000. The articulation of the links is silky smooth. No stiff links. The bracelet doesn't kink. The links move very smoothly. But there's no rattle, there's no excessive play in the screw pins. It feels like a nice tight bracelet. So the tolerances are very fine, the quality control is excellent. The brushed satin finish has a beautiful luster to it, so high tier finishing, as you can see. Mirror polishing is flawless and the screw pins are a good tight fit. It doesn't rattle, but we've got that smooth articulation. So that means it curves around the wrist very smoothly without kinking, and the female pivoted end links also articulate very smoothly to give a nice perfect fit. So let's test the screw down crown execution. Solid 316L grade stainless steel crown, mirror polished domes cap to it and embossed with the guiding light star logo as I've detailed. Coin edge finishing is very crisp. The quality control and the machining of the coin edge finishing again is high tier level, not mid tier level, and no sharp edges, no burrs to it. So it's grippy and tactile rather than being a knurled crown. The coin edge crown gives it a nice grip, but it doesn't dig into the index finger and thumb, so it's very pleasant to use. Let's test unscrewing it. Absolutely silky smooth. To put this into perspective, this is as smooth as the Rolex Triplock crown on my Submariner date, and that really is the highest compliment I can pay the watch, its perfection. I don't think Tuseno could improve on this thread action. It's just absolutely silky smooth. Perfect interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. 100 meters of hermetic seal is very strong specification. This is a daily wear piece, it's not a dive watch. 50 meters of water resistance would have sufficed, 100 meters is strong. So unscrewing it, the SW200-1 pops out the crown, which is nice. So we're now in the manual winding position. Let's test manually winding it. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up to its maximum 38-hour power reserve. Nice firm resistance to it, but it feels smooth. Pulling it out to the first click position is the quick set date complication. So if you look at the date complication, you can see rotating the crown clockwise advances the date. Now with some automatic movements, the date complication has a click to a real heavy, clunky click, but this feels nice and smooth. That's something I really like about the SW200-1, the smoothness of it. One can feel the date clicking over, but it feels nice and smooth, but positive, good indexing to it. Pulling it out to the second click position hacks the movement. We're now in the time setting position. You can see the contrasting yellow arrowhead tip to the second hand has now stopped dead. So it's possible to set the time precisely to the second with the caliber SW200-1. No backplay, clockwise and anti-clockwise. There's an immediate response. And again, this is something I really like about the caliber SW200-1. With some automatic movements, there's backplay. And one can feel the slack in the movements in the gearing. But with this, when you rotate the crown clockwise and anti-clockwise, it responds immediately. The minute hand immediately moves. There's no backplay. One can feel the resistance in the gearing. It feels like a good solid movement. And it's a good, reliable, well-proven workhorse caliber. So I really like it. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click and that restarts the movement. You can see the contrasting yellow arrowhead. Second hand begins to sweep around the dial once again. Let's test screwing it back down. Immediate thread pickup. There's a perfect interface between the internal crown of the stainless steel, internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. perfect meshing in interface, silky smooth. This is 10 out of 10 screw down crown execution. It's one of the best, smoothest mid-tier crowns I've experienced. So credit where credit's due. This is very well refined. Quality control is outstanding. Right, so let's do a lume test and we'll see how the lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. So this piece uses BGW9 Superluminova, so I've got high expectations for the performance. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. This is 10 out of 10 performance. Perfect colour tone match between the applied indices and also the hands. As you can see, the blue tone matches, so they've got that correct. This is clearly 5 to 6 layers. Now, sometimes mid-tier brands, micro brands, cut production costs by only applying 3 to 4 layers of Superluminova. 5 to 6 is optimum. You can clearly see this is 5 to 6 layers on both the applied indices and also the hands. So they're glowing very brightly, and it will continue to glow without fading, which is good. That is what you get with 5 to 6 layers. So I like the BGW9, nice blue tone, and I like the fact that the colour tone matches on the dial and hands. Sometimes with micro brands they get a mismatch between the colour of the lume, and it's simply because they apply different amounts of lume. For example, 3 to 4 layers on the indices and 5 to 6 on the hands, and therefore there's a colour tone match. The indices glow brighter than the hands, etc. But you can see they've applied the lume evenly because the blue colour is a perfect match on the indices and the hands, the same brightness, the same colour tone, and clearly legible. I like the symmetry of the dial. You can see that's the benefit of not citing the date complication at 3 o'clock. They've put it at 6. So it's an asymmetrical dial, but they've still retained a 6 o'clock index. So one gets that perfect symmetry and legibility. And it's continuing to glow for a good length of time. As you can see, not fading whatsoever. Very good. Right, so let's discuss the movement used because it's one of my favourite aspects of the piece. So you'll all be familiar with the Sellita SW200-1. It's made in Switzerland, at 26 joules. It runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. It has a 38-hour power reserve, which is perfectly acceptable. Hand winding and hacking are useful complications. The standard grade used in this piece has a stated accuracy of plus or minus 12 seconds per day. However, I'm pleased to report that Tuseno are doing a good job of regulating the calibers they're using. This one is running consistently at plus 3 seconds per day, which is outstanding accuracy. So plus 3 is well within the stated plus or minus 12 per day, and for the standard grade of Sellita, plus 3 is very good accuracy. No negatives to the movement whatsoever. It's very reliable. I like the quick set date complication. The manual winding feels very solid, and also 4 Hz gives a nice smooth sweep. So correct choice of movement for the Windseeker. 4 Hz means that one gets a nice smooth sweep to that arrowhead tip to the yellow second hand. With 3 Hz movements, the hand stutters or judders more around the dial, so 4 Hz gives a nice balance. I like movements that run at 28,800. And also it's the perfect balance between power reserve and accuracy. When one increases the beat rate, of course, the accuracy improves, but then one sacrifices power reserve. So 38 hours is acceptable, but also we've got the good accuracy of running at 28,800 vibrations per hour and 4 Hz. So I like plus 3 seconds. And the benefit of using the SW200-1, as I've detailed, is it's a thin movement. So they've been able to make this piece only 10.5 millimeters due to the flat sapphire crystal and the flat sapphire crystal in the screw down exhibition case back. And I like the fact that this is very low profile. 10.5 is exceptional for a 100-meter water resistant piece, and I think they deserve credit. The case profile to this is absolutely beautiful. Beautiful mirror polishing to the bevels, which contrasts with the brush satin finishing, and I want to give credit to the finishing on the bracelet and the head of the piece in particular, because as I've detailed, this is high tier level case finishing and bracelet finishing, and even down to the deploying clasp, we've got pelage finishing on the interior, which one doesn't see. So when it's getting a Swiss made piece with a Swiss made movement, Sellita SW200-1, with high tier level finishing that one would expect on a 5,000 euro piece, for only €699. This is unquestionably excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So I'm going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money, and I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Tuseno Windseeker Black. Thank you for watching.